They came at night. They always came at night. In a country of 110 million people, the knock at the door became the sound of the decade. Tok tok, hangyo, knock and plead. That was what they called it. Operation Tokhang, a program that promised to ask drug users to surrender, to change their ways, to choose life. But many who answered that knock did not live to tell us what came next. In June 2016, Rodrigo Duterte became the 16th president of the Philippines, with one central promise: to end the drug problem in 6 months, or he would resign. He did not resign. What followed was one of the bloodiest domestic campaigns in modern Southeast Asian history. A war the government called a victory against vice, and that human rights organizations called a crime against humanity.
My campaign against drug will not stop until the last pusher and the last drug lord are...
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency counted 4.7 million drug users in the country. Nearly half of all barangays, neighborhoods, were classified as drug-affected. In Duterte's calculus, this was not a public health crisis. It was a military target. Police followed unverified lists of suspected users and sellers. They stormed homes at midnight. They fired on unarmed people. And when the incident reports were written, the story was always the same. None laban. The suspect fought back. They almost never did. Anti-drug vigilantes, many of them believed to be off-duty police or hired assets, were responsible for nearly half of all civilian deaths in the early months. They arrived on motorcycles. They left cardboard signs on the bodies. Pusher, addict, do not mourn. The government called this progress, but the numbers the government gave were never the full picture. Official counts recorded 6,201 deaths during police operations. Independent trackers estimated between 8,000 and 30,000. The government had quietly stopped updating its own category for unexplained drug-related deaths. What the government could not erase were the people left behind. The war on drugs was officially a war against criminals. But the people who bore its weight were not faceless statistics. They were sons, fathers, husbands, neighbors. Many of them were already drowning, in poverty, in trauma, in a dependency that no list, no raid, and no bullet could cure. Raymon started using in his 20s. To sustain the habit, he did what the system always predicts. He started selling.
To keep up with my drug use, I started selling marijuana out of my condominium na nirerenta namin nung future wife ko. So I started selling na rin shabu.
When Duterte's drug war intensified, Raymond became a name on a list. BDEA agents came looking for him. He fled.
Nahuli. Tapos I had to jump out into a boat para to escape yung mga pideya kasi ang daming pideya na na nandun, hinahanap ako.
He was eventually caught, but before the state had him in custody, someone else did first. Members of the police force, who saw him not as a person to rehabilitate, but as a transaction to exploit.
So pinasok ng police yung bahay namin. The police were even torturing me in front of my mom. Na bigay mo sa amin yung GCash password mo. Yan. Parang sinuntok nga nila ako parang mga 7 times.
He was jailed. 2 days after he was released, he relapsed.
So after 2 days from jail, nakauwi ako sa Parañaque, nag-relapse na ako kaagad to drugs.
Jimwell grew up in Bagong Silang, one of the largest urban poor communities in Metro Manila. When drugs took hold of his neighborhood, Operation Tokhang arrived with them.
Pinasurrender kami dahil yun na lang daw yung maitutulog niya sa amin. Dahil baka daw mamatay kami. Siya hindi lang niya masabi sa amin, na kapag ka-surrender ka, papatayin ka. Ganun.
Jimwell was taken, hooded, bound.
Pinusalan yung bibig ko ng mineral water. Tinali yung kamay ko. Pinalaya din kami. Doon kami iniwan sa napakadilim na lugar. Akala ko, pagbaba ko, babariling kami.
He was imprisoned. He described the inside of the city jail during the height of the drug war as something no policy brief could capture.
Alam mo yung impyerno na tinatawag? Ayun na yun sa kulungan. Ang baho, Diyos ko, siksikan kami nung mga panahon na yun. Tapos ang tulog namin, nakaupo, ganyan no. Pag may gumalaw na isa sa dulo, magagalawan niya lahat.
3 days after his release, Jimwell was using again.
3 araw, punta naman ako dun sa sa isang tulak. Kuha na naman ako, shabu-shabu na naman ako.
John Pett's addiction cost him his family, his dignity, his uncle's savings, money he stole because the drug had already taken everything else.
Ninakawan ko pa po siya. Yung savings niya, ninakaw ko. Malaking haliga. Nasaktan ko po siya. Ng todo. Kumbaga, na-enhance ko yung pagiging loko-loko ko nun.
When Duterte came to power, the jails filled faster than they could count the bodies coming in.
Nung dumating na yung pagkarami-raming tao, yung tulugan po nila ganun. Dikit-dikit po talaga. Dikit-dikit po talaga. As in, nagpapalitan pa ng tulog yon. 2 oras nakatayo, 2 oras nakaupo.
He promised his children he was done with drugs. The day he walked out of jail, he lasted less than 5 hours. The drug war's logic was simple. Hunt them, arrest them, or kill them. What it never had a plan for was this. What happens after? What happens when addiction does not respond to bullets? What happens when a jail cell makes the hunger worse, not better? What happens when the system designed to protect people becomes the first thing that harms them? The government's drug treatment centers, the ones not built on killing, were little better than the jails. Amnesty International documented forced mandatory drug testing in violation of the right to privacy. Arbitrary extended detention as punishment. Weeks in isolation for rule violations. Programs built not on evidence-based medicine, but on coercion and abstinence. Approaches that addiction science has long since discredited. Meanwhile, the financial machinery underneath the violence ran quietly, efficiently. Police were incentivized not to arrest, but to kill. Cash reward structures meant a dead suspect paid more than a living one. Amnesty International called it what it was, an economy of murder. Incident reports were copy-pasted. Suspect fought back. The phrase appeared so often, in so many files, it stopped being testimony and became template. And in all of this, the raids, the killings, the overcrowded jails, the cardboard signs, the people targeted were not the architects of the drug trade. They were its casualties. They were the ones who answered the knock.
Dumating na kami dalawa doon sa point na. And before kami bumalik ng office, pupunta muna kami. Mag-check-in kami para gumamit. So everyday yun.
PJ was a professional. He used drugs before going to the office. Then he introduced his pregnant wife.
Sa time na in-introduce ko siya, napalitan siya ng addiction ko na hindi ako pwedeng hindi gagamit kasama yung asawa.
Their world collapsed inward. Family members, one by one, pushed away.
Kasi wala na inaway na namin lahat. Kapatid niya, inaway ko na. Mga kuya niya, inaway ko na. Mga tiyahin niya, hindi ko na. Ang importante sa amin dati, may drugs ako. May drugs kami mag-asawa.
There were hallucinations around their sleeping children. There were moments PJ cannot explain, only describe.
So, nakita ko, tulog nga yung 2 bata. Sabi ko, para sa akin, hindi. Gising pa rin sila. Sabi ko, nadinig ko, nagtatawanan, tapos ngayon tulog. Sabi ko, parang iba na yun. Iba na yung nagiging sitwasyon ko.
In March 2025, Rodrigo Duterte was arrested by the Philippine government and transferred to The Hague, Netherlands. He faces charges of murder as a crime against humanity. For the families of those killed on rain-slicked streets, the ones who waited with candles in styrofoam cups, who pressed their hands to cold asphalt, the arrest was something. Not justice, not yet, because almost no one else has been held accountable. The police officers who pulled the triggers were almost universally cleared in internal investigations. The vigilantes who left the cardboard signs were never identified. The officials who signed the lists, who built the reward structures, who looked at the bodies and called them legitimate results, they remain. But in the places the cameras rarely go, something else is also happening.
In Bridges of Hope, I decided to change also. So I saw the people here were very sincere and they just wanted you to change for the better. I choose to fight for my recovery and I choose to help other people in recovery also.
So it took me, I think, 12 or 13 months before ko na-complete yung program ko. Now, program director ako ng Bridges of Hope IMUS. Dito ko ginagawa yung bagay na inumpisan ko before.
The men who were hunted by a war they did not start have become its most honest critics and its most effective healers. Not because the system saved them, because they saved each other. The knock at the door has grown quieter since 2016, but it has not stopped. The lists still exist. The incentives for killing still exist. The jails that turn addiction into something worse still exist. The war on drugs was never about drugs. It was about who we decide is worth saving and who we decide to leave to the night.